With me in studio this morning is International Director of Ann Carlo Enterprises Global Company Limited, Keisha Cruikshank, and a multimedia artist educator, Tammy Kramer. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
And this morning we're talking about robotics and the importance of robotics to learning and human development. First of all, let me ask Keisha, what is robotics?
Well, robots and technology, they have transformed the way that we know life. We have some right here on set, essentially a mechanical device that you can program to do particular instructions. And we are on a mission to inspire creativity and entrepreneurship via robotics education and a number of other creative means. Yeah.
Yeah. Where did this whole idea of robotics begin?
Well, it has been around for some time. Unfortunately, however, for us in the Caribbean region and here in Trinidad and Tobago, I think it's now kicking off. And certainly it is something that we would have to pay a little bit more attention to, robotics, technology, science, if we are truly to prepare for the future. In Trinidad and Tobago, we talk a lot about diversification of the economy. And that diversification of the economy obviously would rest with a different type of thinking, innovative thinking, creative thinking around science and the arts. And we have a lot to harness locally. And so, yes, our formal academics, very, very important. It provides us with a great foundation. But we also have to begin to create, to embrace a different type of skill set, innovative thinking, creative thinking, a little bit more formally. So perhaps starting in our extracurricular spaces, if not in our formal academic spaces.
Right.
Yeah?
So we see these creations on set looking very pretty indeed, but somebody would see this and probably think, okay, it's just a toy. How does this really instill learning in a child or anyone, perhaps?
Okay, cool. So these are some of the pieces that children have produced through our Innovators clubs. And in terms of how they infuse learning, children need to be able to read and interpret drawings and even text. So that's one skill set, the ability to be able to put some of them together, following those instructions, having an understanding of what the pieces can do, then that ability to conceptualize a design and using the same design, using the same pieces to create that design. So a number of different skill sets, that ability to work independently, the ability to work in a team, the ability to persevere when they encounter a challenge, whether in building or coding. Okay?
Oh,
yeah, so a number of different skills. Some of them are technical and some of them are softer, applicable in any sphere of life. At the end of the day, for us, yes, it may be wonderful if someone turns out to be a computer engineer or a scientist or something along the technical field. But we would hope that some of the other skills would also evidence themselves as the young persons develop and go through their own lives. Yeah.
And as we talk about other skills, Tammy Kramer is a multimedia artist and educator. When we see these things, as a matter of fact, when you think of Lego and building and so on, you automatically, as maybe a parent also, would think of science, engineering, those fields. How does robotics help in this field that you're in and helping children in that sphere of being creative?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about robotics in terms of connection with multimedia art is that both have this sense of both technicality and creativity that live together. And so anything that builds those things, whether it's in theater where There's someone that's doing the lights. There's someone that is focusing on the sound equipment. There's an artist on stage performing. There's a director. Or in film where you're using cameras, or in robotics where you're using materials, colors, where you're building something that moves on its own. Having that fusion can expand the way a child thinks so that they can learn both physically, how do I make something, and then what can I do with that thing.
Okay, great. Now we have the STEM program, I know, in schools. You did say that robotics is fairly new to the Caribbean, but how widespread is it here in Trinidad and Tobago?
And very new. We have very small pockets which do the offering, so there is still an opportunity for parents and for young people, for schools to become even more involved in it. And I can say for us, in hosting our clubs, it is an activity which has allowed the young persons to be able to develop a host of skill sets while having fun.
Yeah, and that's important for children.
While having fun.
Yeah, because a lot of times children see learning as boring.
Yeah.
They can't focus, some of them, a lot of them. So this helps in making learning fun.
Definitely. For us, again, it may look like a toy. The colors are pretty, but we use these for the very young ones to get their interest, to get them all excited about it. And in short measure, they're doing very complex things without even realizing it. And in short measure, they're able to move to some of these pieces. This piece here, a team started this on Wednesday. 6-year-olds put it together. This is a servo here, and they were actually looking to build a piece called an angry ant robot. This little piece here, some 8-year-olds put this together, also on Wednesday. We had 2 of them put up on Wednesday. And this little robot here can play football. He can dance.
Is that right?
Yes, he can dance.
My.
We have the distributorship for this particular one. He can dance, he can play football. We're teaching him to dance soca because he's...
Of course. I mean,
right?
You must
walk,
you have a robot, he has to acclimatize to
the local environment.
To the local environment,
So
yes.
we're teaching him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tammy, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of this question of inspiring learning, it's something I feel so passionately about because oftentimes through school, we're given certain avenues to learn through. And knowing from my own experience, both as an educator and as a learner, seeing what happens when students are given the opportunity to explore other ways of learning and how that then influences the way that they learn in the classroom. Because if a student is inspired through robotics to learn how to read and understand instructions, or through theater to interpret a play, to make sense of words in that way, of human expression, that gets applied in the classroom. So there's circle that happens, right? And in their life, there's this feedback loop, right? Of when the learning is inspired somewhere, it can infuse the rest of it, it can give it motivation.
Now we focus a lot on the student. What about the teachers? Because by and large, our classrooms are still very academic, you sit there, you listen to the teacher, teaching math, teaching English, whatever it is. And we are still very much in the old way of learning or of teaching. How are teachers being introduced to this so that they can use this as a tool in their classroom?
I think certainly there are great things happening in a lot of the classrooms across Trinidad and Tobago. For us, our focus is heavily on what happens after class, because we are still very much in a system that is geared towards preparing young persons for secondary school and then for university and so on. And that's important. The foundation is important. What we are saying is that there is an opportunity to do more in the extracurricular time. And this is where we have put our focus in terms of augmenting some of that learning and hopefully trying to ensure that the skill sets for good development happen in that space. Because the alternatives today are a tablet, television. We can't even say good play park spaces because we hardly have any on the east-west corridor.
Right.
Right? For those of us who live in the east, we come sometimes to the west,
Right.
right, to use some of these spaces. So there is an opportunity to
And even in the
productively,
schools, there aren't spaces in the schools.
there's an opportunity to productively engage young persons with artistic things. So this is science and art, all in one. Robotics, multimedia, drama. Yes, we have some of it going on in the schools, a lot of it. Music. We believe strongly that exposing them to some of those creative arts would help to infuse that creative thinking, that innovation, and that entrepreneurial spirit that we need so much to be able to create the kind of futures that we want here in Trinidad and Tobago.
But I know recently, this week, we did, one of my reporters did a story or feature on creative arts therapy. Would this fall into that, Tammy?
Certainly. I mean, creative arts therapy, what it draws on a person's creativity in order to express something that they might not have been able to express or understand otherwise, right? And so I think whenever a person is engaged in creative activity, there's that feedback, again, using the word feedback, you get direct feedback of what's happening in me, what am I, who am I, what am I learning? So it might be, it could be more concrete or less concrete. If you're writing a poem, it might be more concrete of, oh, this is what I'm feeling today, this is what I'm thinking today. But if you're building a robot, as you build it, you're also seeing how are you responding to the material. And sometimes it takes an external person, right, a teacher, a facilitator, in the case you're talking about a therapist, to help reflect on that. But whenever we're making something in the world, we get a physical manifestation of what is happening inside of us that we can then look at, learn from, and move with.
Yeah. Let's talk about the percentage of girls and to boys. Do you find that there are more boys or equally boys and girls who are gravitating towards this type of or towards the robotics?
Certainly from our experience so far, we are seeing that there are more boys. And I would want to say to all parents of girl children here today, the international statistics say that internationally, the jobs are going to be in the area of science and technology. And so that if we want to better position our young girls to be able to tap into some of those jobs, start with robotics, right? Start with something fun. We have, I mean, the numbers, the girls that are involved do very, very, very well. We would like to see even more girls involved, not only in robotics, but in technology and in science. And we have to create a culture for it, you know?
Yeah. What are some of the key challenges in robot reinforcement learning?
I would say that perhaps the challenges. Perhaps robot reinforcement or the introduction of robotics in the learning sphere, one main challenge may perhaps be cost. I know in the international sphere, another main challenge may be the time taken for curriculum integration, because that's a specific activity all on its own. However, the benefits and the research that has been done shows that by exposing young persons to robotics, it's well worth it, even in an extracurricular space, so that they learn to creatively explore. They learn about programming, they learn about problem solving, they learn about engineering, they learn a lot of things. Right? Yeah.
And I know that this is happening with the STEM program in schools as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fortunately for us,
yes,
we are making some headway. So I'm not at all knocking the headway. I'm celebrating the headway that we're making locally, and we need to have even more. Yeah.
Okay. But I understand that you have a camp coming up.
Certainly. So
you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So we have our Innovators camp coming up from the 3rd of April to the 13th of April. It's taking place at the University of the West Indies Open Campus. And persons can find out more information on our website. It's AnnCarloEnterprisesGlobal.com. And if you're wondering who is Anne and Carlo, they are our future boys and girls, fully equipped with the technological and human skills to be able to chart the way forward in Trinidad and Tobago. So if you want your boy and girl to be with that team, Anne and Carlo,
Okay.
I said that our Innovators camp is for you. I don't know if you want to say anything else about the camp.
Sure. So the camp is going to be both robotics and theater, dance, music, all these other entry points, so that the campers or the students will have the opportunity to see which avenue works for them, what excites them.
Right.
The theme of the camp is, I am beautiful, I am unique, I am strong. Anything I imagine, I can create.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I want to thank Keisha Cruikshank, International Director of Anne Carlo Enterprises Global Company Limited, and Tammy Kramer, who's, I understand, is only here until August. She's a multimedia artist and educator, and will be working closely with Keisha on the robotics project. Thank you both for coming in and for giving us some information about this robotics program. We hope that parents out there would really embrace it and see it as a tool for learning and for their children in particular, as we look forward to the future of our society.
Thank you so very much for having us. And if you'd permit me to share a number, they can call 486-0277 for any further details. Okay?
Sure. Thank you very much. You're viewing Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago, and we invite you to stay tuned. We have more coming up.